barrel of laughs describes my next guest, Kev Orkian, comedian, entrepreneur and owner of Jongleurs, the best place to watch all the latest comedy. This week, the Comedy Club is back live across several venues in London. And the master of comedy himself, Kev, is flying on top form. Having acquired Jongleurs just before the pandemic, he is raring to put the laugh back in everyone's belly and has developed a kids club as well as establishing a full lineup of comedians. Kev started out his theatrical life in musicals, and as they say, like a good bottle of wine, he has matured over time. Let's find out more. Kev, welcome to Tea Time with me, Ali Monjack. How are you doing?
All right, my darling. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it sounds like I'm a lot better than you are.
You are. And better looking as well. I haven't shaved today, so you're better looking as well. So you're lucky. Yeah, you go for it again.
So ever the comedian. Goodness. So I mean, you have been doing a lot of comedy for a long time, but I mean, your background actually is musicals as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so I started in the West End. I kind of went up for a random audition. I went to Me and My Girl in London. At the time, Brian Conley was playing the lead, and I went to audition for it. I had no agent. I just saw it randomly on the stage newspaper, and I thought I'd go for that. Turned up, did a bit of singing, a little bit of comedy, and then the choreographer said, "Can you tap dance?" And of course, me being the cocky person I am, I said, "Yeah, of course I can." And she went, "Can you put the shoes on?" I thought, oh, God. All right, okay. So I put the shoes on and I couldn't tap for love nor money. And she turned around and she said, "You can't tap dance, can you?" I said, "Well, I'm a quick learner." And she went, "Take the shoes off." So I took the shoes off. She went, "I don't like people lying to me." And I went, "Sorry." And she said, "We'll let you know." And I walked away. That was it. And that night I got a phone call from the director. Can you come in tomorrow morning? I said, "Yeah." Went in the following morning. And after a brief conversation, he gave me the lead for 4 months.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. So that really sort of set you on your way to do musicals. So what did you love most about that?
Do you know what? Musicals for me are such a beautiful genre of entertainment, because you get the chance, one, to work with a lot of people, two, to really graft your kind of experience in the musical world, whether it's singing, acting or dancing. I did all three. So from Me and My Girl, I got the opportunity to play. I mean, I was playing the lead in Me and My Girl. So I went from that to then playing a slightly smaller role in my first official national tour, which was Fame, the musical. So I went from that. Then I went into Fame. Then I went into Happy Days, the musical, which was an original, and I'm playing the lead comic in that. And then from Happy Days, I went into Grease, Buddy Holly, Boogie Nights. Oh, you name it, I did it. I did all the rock and roll musicals.
Fantastic. So you're quite a singer and a dancer then, really?
Was. Yeah, you got to keep practicing. You know, you got to keep practicing all that la 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 all that business every day. And I mean, I haven't done that for at least a good 15, if not longer, many years of my life. But the last musical I actually did was 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? Hold on, I'm just looking at the poster now. Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. I did The Infidel for David Baddiel. The original movie version was played by Omid Jalili, the Iranian comedian. And then they did the West End musical version, and I got to play the lead in that. So I had to basically buff up the old, the vocal cords again, and get back into playing the lead in that musical as well.
Oh, fantastic! Because it was also a book as well, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yes, it was. Yeah.
I've actually read the book as well. So yeah, I mean, quite an interesting, because I mean, he's such a talented writer as well, isn't he, David Baddiel?
God, yeah, David Baddiel's he's such an awesome human being, and his entire kind of the way he kind of brings a show together is very strategic and very interesting. But he always, with me, he was he was open with me. So he was like, "Okay, what do you think you would do here that would be funny?" And when I mentioned it to him, he was like, "Yeah, I love that. Try that. And Kev, try this. Just maybe give a facial expression here." So he was really quite pedantic with what he did. He wanted the right thing to show, but at the same time, he gave you the freedom of kind of interpreting it yourself as well.
So you basically fell out of the West End doors into the comedy door, didn't you? Really, off the West
Yeah.
End stage into the comedy door. So how did that really happen? I mean, obviously, you know, like Infidel it gave you the scope to be funny, but how did you make that whole transition to fall off the West End stage into the comedy doors?
Well, I didn't necessarily fall off the stage at that moment when I got into stand-up comedy, because John Conway, the owner of Kudos, or one half of the owner of Kudos at the time, said to me, look, we've got an opening in Blackpool and it's called the Comedy Bonanza. And he said, Bobby Crush has pulled out of the show. He said, and I'd like to give you the opportunity of getting into the show. Would you like to do it? I thought, oh my God, yeah. And he said, it's 18 weeks in Blackpool at the Theatre Royal. He said, and I need you to do about 5 or 6 minutes of stand-up comedy. And I thought, oh my God, yeah, that's brilliant. But could I do stand-up comedy? Not for love nor money. I had never done the genre before. I'd never practiced it. It'd always been so I sat down, I practiced, did this load of comedy, piano and whatever, tried to bring it all together like Les Dawson or Victor Borger or, you know, Dudley Moore. So I did this whole thing. I got into the music. I got into the show and I predominantly died every single night for about 16 weeks out of the 18. And I kept practicing, and Jimmy Cricket kept putting his arm around me going, try this. And Billy Pierce did the same. John Inman did the same. The Nolan sisters did the same. So I practiced and I grafted and I dabbled, shall we say, in the millennium. It was in the year 2000. I dabbled. And then in 2001, I went, let me get back into musicals for a while because I'll be comfortable there again. So I went back into musicals. I did Boogie Nights for another 2 years with Sam Cain. And it was around 2004, 2005 that I actually went back into serious stand-up comedy. And I then had grafted a good bit of material. So I then went on the road with my first comic, I think was Joe Pasquale. So I went on tour with Joe Pasquale.
How amazing. And, you know, it has been said that you are, you know, you do sort of take parts of your comic routine is from Les Dawson and Dudley Moore as well, as you mentioned. Yeah. So
a big inspiration of mine. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and also you're well known, sort of renowned for your rendition of Elton John's, aren't you? I'm Still Standing. So, yeah. So that's
one of my favorites. That was ironically, that came from an idea that Freddie Starr had done once, where he took a piece of music and he kept saying, put the tape on. And then he'd sing Elvis Presley's Maybe I Didn't Love You. So he'd go, maybe I didn't love you quite as good as I should have. And he used to do this thing where it was like this LP that kept going fast. And it was the cassette that kept going quick and slow down and reversing. And it was just brilliant. And I watched that. And I remember as a kid, I was about 14 or 15. I remember falling in love with that routine. So when I had the opportunity to then do my own routine and actually do my own kind of ability to kind of create this routine, I took the idea of a skipping CD. And then I put the Elton John's I'm Still Standing to it. And I just devised this entire routine from that. So it's an actual inspiration from Freddie Starr that I upgraded to make it my own.
Oh, no, that sounds amazing. So you've really obviously developed, haven't you, your sort of comic routine, as it were, and grown with it, which is great. So yeah, it's exciting times, isn't it? Because now the 18th of September, which is later on this week, we actually are going to see Jongleurs. I don't know if I ever say that right. Jongleurs?
No, Jongleurs.
Jongleurs.
Yeah, bless you, darling.
Yeah. But perhaps I've got my own little comic routine myself there. Hey.
Don't, because I'll get you on stage. Trust me.
No. Oh no. Anyway, so yeah, no, that sounds amazing because, you know, let's face it, during the pandemic, that's what we've needed more than anything else, isn't it? A good laugh. And to have it live back on stage in the middle of London is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? It's been a tough time. And the entertainment industry got a massive hit from the pandemic, and things just disappeared overnight. A lot of comedians were suffering, a lot of entertainers were suffering, a lot of variety artists were suffering, singers, dancers, actors, everyone was affected by it. And during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to buy Jongleurs, and I went ahead and did it. And the reason I did it was more for bringing back hope for all the other entertainers and comics that are out there that were, and I believe, some of the greatest artists on the planet, but just didn't have a platform to work. So I bought the brand because I believe in the brand. I used to work for the brand, so I bought it, and my intentions are to grow it to the largest comedy brand in the UK, with the hope that we can bring back a ton of venues, a ton of opportunities, and a ton of shows for comedians as well as audiences to come along and have a really good laugh.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. I mean, how, and in the height of its peak, because I mean, it must have been going for a good 20 years.
1983. Yeah, so it first started in 1983,
Wow.
and it kind of went into administration in 2017. So from 2013 to 17, it kind of had a bit of a demise, and it went downhill. But the advantage was it didn't really go downhill with the audiences. It went downhill more with the venues and with the comics. So when then I announced that I had bought the brand, because I work with a lot of the venues, and I certainly work with a lot of the comedians, they were like, oh, well, there's a bit of hope now because Kev's bought it. So there was a few backlashes, to be fair, and that was expected, to be honest with you, from a lot of comics that had been owed money from Jongleurs. So they were being a little bit, I suppose, in a way, understandably, a little bit angry that they were owed money, and suddenly they were asking me for that money. And I just said to them, look, I'm going to do something better than that. I can't afford to pay you all back, particularly the ones that were owed money. But what I will do is I will honor and offer the work to you first. Those people that were owed money, I will offer the gigs to you first. You can take the gigs first, and I will honor it by giving that work back to you with the finances, so that at least you get some money back before then we offer it to other comedians out of that. And a lot of them were really understanding. Actually, if I have to be honest with you, nearly 99%, nearly 100% of the comics were like, great, Kev, look, we'll do that. A few of them are still tarnished by the unfortunate experiences they face, which I don't blame them at all. But things move on, companies move on, and the brand moves on. And the brand's in good hands now, I believe. I've got a great team that work with me. They're awesome human beings. They love the business, they love the industry. And I'm now working with some incredible venues all over the country. So if we can bring back the comedy in a big way, then that's what it's all about.
So how many different areas are you? Because I mean, they used to be everywhere, didn't they, these comedy clubs? I mean, I can remember Southampton, London, you know, just to name a few cities. But I mean, how many clubs are there going to be across the UK to start off with?
So at the moment, we've got about 12. In its height, historically, Jongleurs had 18. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to focus on building the brand to as many cities as possible again. And yeah, I mean, there's no limit actually to the amount of venues we want to open. I've got an entire strategy plan in place already for 2022 and then over to 2025. So we've got an entire strategy from not just this country as well. We're looking at overseas, and we're looking at a different platform as well. So there's going to be quite a lot of different versions of it coming out. And then because I'm very affiliated with the pantomime industry as well, having done 27, 28 pantomimes myself, I'm also looking at
oh no, you didn't.
Oh yes, I did. Looking at maybe in 2022, looking at opening the first ever Jongleurs pantomime, where it's all comedy. All the artists are comedians. So we do a different version. We do a different version of the actual wonderful story of, say, Aladdin or Cinderella.
Oh no, that sounds amazing. That really does. And I mean, obviously, you know, you've got the scope there anyway, because you have actually worked across the world in comedy clubs, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been blessed to have done that. Yeah, everywhere. I headline in Las Vegas every year, which I'm very, very blessed to do. I've already booked my flights for. I actually spoke to the guy about half an hour ago before before we had this conversation. So he's just confirmed the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas. I headline it every year, so I'm going back out there now in February to do that. And then I fly over to Australia. I'll do a few comedy clubs in Australia, but then I also do the pantomime in Australia, and then over to South Africa again, the same thing, and then the Middle East and so forth. So I've got a big tour coming up in America as well next year. So I'm very, very blessed. I work all over the world, and I'm very, I'm humbled by the amount of work that I do get. But I enjoy what I do. I love it. And that's what I want to do. I want to give back to a lot of other comics and a lot of other performers what I've done, and hopefully give them the opportunities that I've had.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's not tonight? You're making people laugh, aren't you?
It's the best medicine in the world.
Yeah, it is the best medicine in the world, definitely, without a doubt. So that's brilliant. So September the 18th, it opens up in London anyway. Is that
Yes.
3 venues across London?
Yeah, I believe so. So at the moment, we've got the 18th, which September the 18th. No, actually, hold on a minute. We've got September the 16th, which is the Highland Restaurant. We've got the Establishment on the 20th. We've got the Water Rats on the 20th as well. So we've actually got two brand new venues opening up. So the Establishment's on Greek Street, and the Water Rats venue is on Gray's Inn Road. So we've got those 2 venues opening up. We've got the Blackpool Tower opening up this month as well, and that's on the 23rd of September. So that's really exciting, because that's not a comedy show as such. That's actually a variety show. So what we wanted to do was champion not just comedians, but we wanted to champion variety artists as well. Because let's face it, variety artists can also be very funny, but they can, they have a different way and a different talent to their abilities. So we wanted to bring back that as well. And then we got the Queen's Theatre, which we're opening on the 24th of September. And you were mentioning Southampton. We're doing Concord Club. We've got a residency there now, and we're doing that on the 26th. So we've got some great opportunities, some great, venues coming up for the future. So it helps being able to kind of open up different opportunities for different comics in different areas around the country.
Definitely. I mean, you are working with some sort of, quite well-known names as well. I mean, sure. I saw on your lineup that you've got Mandy Muden, and I just think she's hysterical, isn't she?
Mandy is awesome. She's a talent and a half. I've got to say, though, we've booked so many great comics in, and really well-known names, like, we've got everyone from Hal Cruttenden. We've got recently we've just booked up Jared Christmas. He's doing quite a bit at the moment as well, so we've got him on the lineup. And then we've got a very exciting project I can't tell you about at the moment, but it's a massive tour for next year, which we've got a great sponsorship for it. And what we've done is we've actually teamed up with an incredible organization called Mendable, and it's basically about mental health awareness in men. So what we're doing is Jongleurs is teamed up with Mendable. So we've kind of collaborated with a partnership where we're putting on a tour next year with 4 legends of the comedy world, which all of them are household names, that are going on a national tour in the UK, all sponsored by a phenomenal company, which I can't tell you about, and then also sponsored by Mendable, which I can tell you about, which is the mental health awareness group that encourages men to talk more about their feelings and emotions, and actually open up about their their past and their future and anything they're going through. So doing that through the comedy world means that comedians who do suffer from depression and anxiety and whatnot also get the opportunity to talk about their feelings as well.
Definitely. I think that's a great thing, because I think, as creatives, sometimes we do find it more difficult to sort of talk about, how we feel and things like that. But especially men, and I hate to say it, but it's true statistic that the biggest killer of men under 45 is suicide.
Absolutely. Yes. And more so now, because obviously, as you know, Ali, during the pandemic, we actually, I know of 3 cases of comedians that had run away from home. I know one of them, 2 of them, apologies, were living on the streets. And when they were approached by some fellow comedians and why they were living on the streets, their answer to it was they couldn't face being at home because they were letting their family down, because they weren't earning any money. So the fact that you're then going, hold on a minute, come here, giving them a cuddle, picking them off the streets, putting them back to their families and going, let's do a let's do a sponsored event and raise some money for these guys to be able to feed their families again is really important, which is why I bought Jongleurs, is to give hope back to comedians and say, we're here. We're going to be giving you a ton of work, and this is what's going to happen. So my principles are rock solid, regarding Jongleurs. I want to do something that no one's ever done before, and we will achieve it. 1,000,000%.
And I believe you will. I mean, come on, Kev, you're a stand-up kind of guy.
I try. Listen, I try. We can all work miracles if we manifest and we put our mind to it. And if you focus on it, you can make dreams come true. I'm no different to you. You're no different to me. I'm no different to Elon Musk or Richard Branson or anyone else. I'm no different. None of us are. We're all human beings. We're all the same. The difference is our dreams and our goals are different. And the bigger your dreams, the bigger your goals, the bigger the achievement. And if you can take risks, then you're gonna change the world. And I want to leave a legacy behind for future comedians and future people that want to come up in through the ranks to want to do comedy. That's what we're all about. Actually, on that part of the what Jongleurs is already doing is we've managed to acquire 2 sets of council grants from the council to actually they love the idea to put on Jongleurs Kids Comedy Camp, and we actually put on a 4-day comedy camp for children to learn how to do stand-up comedy. And these children were all children that were actually one, they were really finding it hard to talk, believe it or not. 2, they were underprivileged children as such. I wouldn't disrespect the families in saying they're underprivileged, but they're underprivileged in the sense that this for them was something they probably wouldn't have been able to afford. And they came along. We had a great laugh. And actually, one of the children, the success story that I've just done 2 weeks ago was a young man called Elijah, a 9-year-old young man who was in and out of hospital for 2 years, and he had forgotten how to laugh, and he'd forgotten how to speak. So he was very quiet. He hardly ever spoke. Came onto the course, and within 3 days, he was on the floor, belly wrenching, laughing, and he was doing stand-up comedy. And lo and behold, we lost him on the 4th day back into the hospital. Unfortunately, he took a turn and he spent 2 weeks in hospital. So we lost him for the last day, but we sent him all our love, and we've kept in touch with him ever since. So the course, these kids' courses are about nurturing the future of Jongleurs stand-up comedians. So girls, boys, gay, lesbian, non-binary, that doesn't matter. I don't care who you are, what color, race, or creed you are. Don't care who you are. If you're funny, come in.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So you really, really do have quite a business plan there, don't you, Kev?
Yeah, you've got to. I think you've got to, and you've got to. And your principles have got to be right. With anything, Jongleurs stood for innovative and original comedy, and I want to keep that tradition going, but I want to add principles to it that I think are very important, and opportunities that I think comedians never had before.
Yeah, I can see that, and I think that's great. And as I said, well, you've said as well, laughter is the medicine of life, isn't it? And I mean, let's face it, if we haven't been able to laugh during the last 18 months, I mean, goodness knows where we would be. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think you've nailed it on the head, Ali, because like even I've got twin 7-year-olds. And even during the pandemic, we'd be sitting there watching, The Incredibles or, Croods or Frozen or whatever the case may be. And I remember on one occasion watching a really funny cartoon with the boys. And when I turned around, they were both crying. And I couldn't understand it. As a father, as someone who'd created a nice, happy environment for the boys, I couldn't understand it, Ali. And I was like, what's going on? And when I spoke to them, they didn't know why they were crying. And I realized there and then that even 7-year-olds can go through mental health. They can go through real kind of trauma, depression, anxiety. And when I finally got down to the nitty-gritty, which took me about a couple of weeks to get it out of them, it was more the fact that they missed their friends, they missed the interaction with their school, they missed actually learning, they missed a lot of things. Even though we were homeschooling, we weren't doing it right. And I think I realized there and then, I mean, homeschooling I'll never do again. By the way, I'm officially announcing that on your podcast. I would never do it, never in a million years do homeschooling again. Sounds came out of me that even a pregnant woman wouldn't do, right? Sounds came out. I was like, what is going on? Homeschooling, never again. But, they were crying. So I think it gets to the point where you think they also need to be stimulated. So that's why Jongleurs Kids Comedy Camp was born.
Oh, brilliant. No, that does sound good. And as you say, it's got to be, I think there's something for everybody, isn't there, in what you've created here. And it's
Absolutely.
really good to see a good British name. Like, I'm not even going to say it now because now you've got me paranoid that I can't actually say
Jongleurs.
it. Gosh, so next we'll have a comedy act together, won't we?
You're going red. Is it my camera or are you going red right now?
No, I'm not going red. But so
Bless you,
yeah, I think that's amazing because it has been around for nearly 30 years actually in
Plus, yeah,
total, isn't
yeah.
it? As a
And
name.
it's had great comedians on the platform as well. Some of the greatest artists names, big names like Bill Bailey was on it. Marcus Bridgestock. Gina Yashiri. Ed Byrne, Ricky Grover, Junior Simpson. You've had Ross Noble, Marcus Bridgestock, Lee Mack, Dylan. Phil Jupiters. You've had them all. And they've all been on it, and some incredible names. That have been there and done that and worn the t-shirt. So the fact that we've got these guys and we've got that history behind it, and now we're creating the future of stand-up comedy where these girls and guys will come onto our platform, do the shows, and then hopefully go on to bigger and better things, whether it's worldwide, whether it's television, whether it's their own DVD specials.
And I mean, there's something to be said about this pandemic as well, because I mean, we've all had a lot of time to think about things, but I mean, you're quite right in actually looking after creative talent, because previously, prior to this pandemic, we didn't really look after creative talent, did we?
To a certain degree, yeah, you're absolutely right. We didn't. It's difficult because when you're spoilt in the entertainment world, you don't really look at the nurturing aspect of it. You just look at whoever wants the gig, take it. That's kind of how it works. And I've always been under the understanding that, because it was the way I was treated, that you take a talent, and I'm so proud and honored to mention him, John Conway, who's not only a friend but he's my mentor. John Conway, who was one half of Kudos and owned the biggest pantomime company in the world. He then went on to actually produce some of the biggest musicals in the West End and on national tours. Took me as a very scruffy-nosed performer that had enthusiasm but didn't have certainly the discipline or the experience. And he gave me that experience by saying to me, right, you're going to tour with Joe Pasquale this year. Next year, I'm going to give you Cannon and Ball. The year after, I'm going to give you Bobby Davro or Brian Connolly. The year after that, I'm going to put you with Jim Davidson because it's a bit of a different audience for you. By the way, I'm going to put you into pantomime. So this Christmas, you're in pantomime with Linda Lasardi and Sam Kane and Lionel Blair. Next year, I'm going to put you in pantomime. You're going to be with Claire Sweeney. Every year, he had this way of actually nurturing me. And he put, by the way, the biggest one he did was Haven Holiday Parks. So I ended up touring, I think 2 or 3 years back to back, doing stand-up, doing seaside specials, doing that kind of stuff in Haven Holiday Parks. And I learned so much. And the key element to everything I did was I played to every single possible audience you could throw at me, from hen and stag parties to literally 7 people in a private event who were all multi-billionaires who are sitting there and they're judging you when you perform. So I've done everything as far as the audience goes, and I'm still doing more because there's so many new ways people are kind of wanting to watch shows and this and that, whatever. So I've performed in some of the most prestigious venues around the world. If I can do it, why can't any of the comics that I'm employing do it? Of course I can, but you just got to nurture them into that platform and say, look, this is what's happening. I want to help you get to this platform, and this is what I want you to do. So that's how we're working.
Yeah. So it as I said, it sounds like a really sort of sound business plan, and it's a good idea, isn't it, to look after the people that are working for you as well.
Totally, yeah. But you look after them, they'll look after you.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Well, do you know what, Kev? It's been amazing to have you on Tea Time. I've already had a couple of good laughs.
Bless you, darling. Bless you, darling. It's been such a pleasure talking to you as well. This is the first time we've met. So this is the first time we met, and you're just an absolutely wonderful human being. Thank you so much. I know yours was tea time, mine was water time, but we did it. We made it happen. So it's all good.
We did, yeah. So definitely. And I will look forward myself to coming along to one of those clubs that you own.
Anytime. Yeah, absolutely. Come along, sit down, have a good laugh. We've got some great talent. And we're booking some incredible, phenomenal artists at the moment who are coming back and going, yeah, want to get back into it. So it's great. It's really great. We're blessed. And hopefully we can give back to the audiences in absolute droves when it comes to the shows.
Well, I think so now. I mean, now is as good a time as any because, you know, things are basically back to normal, aren't they? You know, by the odd vaccine or mask.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but you know, the comedians will talk about it, and that's the other thing. One of the great things about comedy is, you know, it's an opportunity for comedians to be able to talk about what's happened in a comedic way and allow audiences to laugh about it now, because even though we've lost so many wonderful human beings on the planet through to this pandemic, we've also saved millions of people as well. So, you know, there's a happy balance there. And all those people that did lose someone to the pandemic, you know, it's about coming along and kind of relieving yourself with a bit of light-hearted entertainment to go, we went through a tough time, but, you know, we've come out of it on the other side now, and let's look towards the positives again. You know, even though the negatives have been there, let's look towards the positives. So that's what Jongleurs is about. Bring the positives and make everyone laugh.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on Tea Time, and I look forward to many more laughs. So
absolutely, and you're invited anytime, darling. Please come along and enjoy it. We've got some great venues. Keep your eye on the website jongleurs.com, because we've got tons of new venues opening up and a ton of new shows coming in as well. So 2022 is going to be a very, very busy year for all of us.
Definitely, I will do. You take care now.
You too, Ali. God bless.
Bye. Look forward to chatting with my next guest on the Tea Time sofa this time next Saturday. In the meantime, if you would love to get in touch about having a chat with me, you can reach me on teatime@forthenow.co.uk, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram on Tea Time with AM. Bye for now.